Hi, this is Deboki, and today I'm going to be talking about 9 booktube videos that I have loved that I watched in the past year. I did this video last year for my 1 year on booktube anniversary, and so technically that's what I'm also doing this year. It's now been 2 years that I've been on booktube. I am technically a little bit behind. I think I started booktube in June, so whatever, I'm like a month late, but better late than never, and the goal is really just to talk about booktube videos that I love, which you can do any time of the year, luckily. So like I said, I did one of these videos last year. I'm going to link to it below. Definitely check out everyone that I talked about last year. I loved all of those videos. I'm going to be talking now about a different group of people, so yeah. Basically, if I am shouting out these videos, that doubles as me shouting out their channels. All of these people are awesome and I really love their channels. I think there's kind of a wide range of types of videos I'm going to be talking about, and you'll also see that in the types of channels that I'm talking about. One of my favorite things about booktube is, even though it seems really straightforward, like we're all talking about books, people find so many interesting ways to approach books, to talk about books, to review them, to produce, you know, their own works of art on booktube or on YouTube, and I just really love this community. I will be linking to all of these videos down below, so definitely click on those links, check out these people, leave them nice comments. They're all really awesome. So the first video I'm going to be talking about comes from Valerie over at Val Reads, and this is her discussion video called Too Picky for Booktube. And this video is really fascinating to me because there are parts of it that I really relate to, and there are parts of it that I definitely do not. Val basically spends this video watering a plant and talking kind of through how she's trying to balance her own tastes and kind of her own, like, I think what she would describe as harshness, with also being someone who's reviewing books in public and who doesn't necessarily want to be like mean to people whose tastes are different than her own. Her discussion touches on a lot of kind of general topics that I think I've seen around booktube, especially the idea of reading for you versus reading for the community, but she also delves into a lot of specific notes about her own taste, and she sort of analyzes how she relates to that and how that relates to her as a booktuber. Like I said, there are some parts of this video that I really relate to, especially when she's talking about like when she's reading a book and she's feeling like she might be nitpicking on it too much. That's definitely something that I've like worried about at times with some of my reading tastes, but there are also parts of this video that I do not relate to as much. Especially in the beginning, she talks a lot about where her tastes in pop culture lie. I am a lover of what a lot of people would describe as trash. So when she's describing her disdain for some parts of pop culture, I don't relate. And usually when people talk about their disdain for those aspects of pop culture, I get annoyed because I love those parts of pop culture. I'm a little bit protective of them because I think they get unfairly denigrated, but I don't think the point of her video is to trash them. The point of her video is to kind of figure out what her place is in terms of, I guess, discussing books overall, given that this is where her starting point is. The next video I wanted to talk about is called How I Became Self-Employed / Freelance and Top Tips. This video is from Jen Campbell. Jen is both a booktuber and an author, so I feel like there's a high probability that a lot of you recognize her from either her channel or from seeing her books. In the past few months, Jen posted this video called How I Became Self-Employed / Freelance, which is a video that is part personal story and part wonderful fountain of wisdom. This video couldn't have come at like a more perfect time for me. I'm transitioning into this career in science writing, which I'm still figuring out what that's going to look like, but there is a huge probability that freelancing is going to become a part of that. I'm not really sure, but it's something that's also kind of scared me because it's not something that, you know, that there's necessarily a clear structure for. That's kind of part of the freelance lifestyle. So I really liked her video because I think she made it much more approachable, especially because she was telling her own story, which, even if that's not necessarily like a generalizable path for a lot of people to follow, it's definitely it gives you kind of a sense of how these kind of paths can develop. I think this video is a great resource for anyone who's considering freelancing, and I also, like, I obviously have a bias towards people who talk about their careers on booktube, but I just think it's really cool that she was willing to sit down and just kind of like lay it out there to talk about how things like booktube and writing and everything fits into her career. In addition to this video, Jen has a number of videos about representations of disfigurement in media, which is something that I definitely don't know enough about, and so I think those videos are also really worth checking out. They give a lot of historical and literary context for things that we might see in pop culture and like if you're like me and you didn't necessarily think about it before, it gives you a lot to think about. So I would also recommend checking out some of those videos from her. Next video I'm going to be talking about is also from a Jen. This is Jen over at Insert Literary Pun here, and this is her review for Lincoln in the Bardo, which was part of her Booker 2017 review series. I feel pretty confident that like 70 to 90% of you probably already watch Jen's channel and probably already love her channel. I think of her as almost kind of like a booktuber's booktuber. She's been a pretty successful channel out of long book reviews, despite a common refrain that I think a lot of us have heard that, you know, book reviews aren't popular, and if they're gonna happen, you should keep them short. But if you watch any booktuber shout out that includes Jen, and there are a lot of them, everyone is pretty much like, yeah, as soon as she posts a video, it's like, I have to watch it. And that's because she's really, really good at reviews. Jen talks about what she likes and what she doesn't like with incredible specificity, and these different aspects of her discussion always build to really interesting insights about different themes and writing that you might come across in that book. Her negative reviews are tons of fun in the way that I think a lot of us kind of love people taking apart bad writing. But for today, I want to recommend one of her positive reviews, which is the review she did for Lincoln in the Bardo, which I've just come to like really associate now with her channel. Like I see that book and I think of her channel, in part because she loved it so much. I've only read the first few pages of Lincoln in the Bardo, and I want to get back to it fully at some point. And the main reason is because of how she describes the strange structure and how it reflects on the themes of the book. If you haven't checked out Jen's channel, I think this is a good review to start with, because it sort of captures what I expect from her channel and her taste and what it looks like when she really enjoys a book. And if you've been following her for a while and you've seen like a lot of the burnout maybe from the recent women's prize reading stuff, I think this is a good review actually to return to. It was fun returning to it for when I was like writing up this list, because I was like, oh right, sometimes you don't have to make booktubers suffer through books to get, you know, good insights from them. The next video I'm going to be talking about is from Unmanaged Mischief, and this is her video called 2018 Goal, I Want to Fall Back in Love with Anime. While I come to Booktube to hear people talk about books, I love it when people bring in non-book interests as well. I love it when they're talking about things that I'm familiar with, and I love it when they're talking about things I am not familiar with. In this video, Sabrina is talking about her love and her history with anime. I'm going through the series that first got her into the genre, but also talking about how she sort of lost track of it over time. I love how far back she can go in tracing what parts of anime she like really kind of grabbed onto when she was younger, and how they sort of all connected for her and how they played into other interests that she had later on. I think I was initially interested in this video because anime is one of those things that I've always really wanted to get into but just never really managed to completely do. So I really liked watching her talk about her journey through the genre and kind of getting ideas for kind of some things that I wanted to watch as well. I think especially because I know that I like her taste in books, I'm also like, oh, you like that anime? I will probably maybe like that too. I also really like watching the goals that people set for the like each new year. I feel like there were a lot of kind of interesting trends going on the Booktube 2018 goal front this year. But just in general, I like watching these videos because it's interesting to see how people kind of synthesize where they are now and what they kind of want to do with that, like what kind of things they want to change and, you know, address. And I think this video is an interesting addition to that sort of goal because it's not just like starting something completely new, it's really kind of rediscovering something that she already loves. I feel like we all have that one thing that, you know, we were really into for a really long time and then just kind of lost track of, and it was cathartic kind of just to watch her talk about, you know, one of the areas in her life where that was like really rang true. The next video I'm going to be talking about is 4 of a Kind books set in boarding school, and it's from Stephanie at That's What She Read. I primarily associate Stephanie with horror, but for today I'm not going to be talking about that. Stephanie does this cool series called 4 of a Kind where she recommends 4 different books based around a theme. And as you may guess from the title of the video that I'm recommending, the books in this video are all based around boarding school. And to be honest, when she posted it, I kind of pressed play a little bit nervously. I went to a boarding school. I wasn't a boarder, I was a day student, but like the book Prep by Curtis Sittenfeld came out when I was in high school, and for some reason, even though I haven't read it, I get like annoyed when it gets recommended as a boarding school book, which is really, it says a lot more about me than the book. Prep is not on the list, but even if it had been, I feel confident that Stephanie would have given me a good reason to read it. What I really love about this list overall is that even though it's only 4 books, Stephanie manages to hit a pretty diverse selection from like children's lit to YA to fantasy to literary fiction. It just covers like a really good ground, and I think that's something that's great about her channel overall, that like even though she is someone that a lot of us we think about horror, she has this kind of diverse reading taste as well, where she's able to recommend like across a pretty wide set of genres for, you know, a otherwise sort of niche topic. She also talks a little bit about why she likes books set in boarding school, and that was interesting for me to sort of contrast that to what like my actual experience in one was. So yeah, I just thought the video was really cool, and I recommend it, her channel overall, if you're looking for these kinds of recommendations. The next video I'm going to be talking about is from Fangirl Musings, and it is called She's Husband Hunting and He's Her Grieving BFF Matchmaker, which, like, obviously all YouTube videos should just be called that from now on. So if you love romance, you should definitely check out Fangirl Musings. Her channel is mostly centered around reviewing romances, and her reviews are hysterical. She kind of reminds me of the Poptimist, and that I think she has, like, I think they both sort of have like a heightened or stylized kind of delivery, but where the Poptimist reminds me sort of a very aggressive NPR, Fangirl Musings, I haven't quite figured out how to describe her channel yet, but I really love the sincerity behind her reviews. Her reviews have a very theatrical quality to them, but you also still get a really good sense of the books that she's talking about. Like, you'll definitely be taken on a journey, but it's also going to be very clear to you what you're getting out of it, because she's very good about pointing out what she loves or hates about a book. I'm recommending this review in particular just because it's one that I watched recently, and I love watching people enthusiastically talk about a book that they love. And if you love that too, well, you should definitely check out her channel. For the next video, I'm going to be talking about Portal in the Pages video 2018 reading spreadsheet. Sophie over at Portal in the Pages is one of those channels I love because her reading habits are different than mine. This year, for example, she's doing a read around the world challenge for herself that I know I would have a hard time sticking to, but I really admire her discipline and her adventurousness with it. But the video I'm recommending is not about that. The video I'm recommending is about spreadsheets, because spreadsheets are the best. If you've watched Sophie's channel, you may have seen her end of year or mid-year reading breakdowns, and the numbers that she gets from those videos seem to be largely generated by the spreadsheet that she kindly made and shared with everyone on Booktube. As a lover of number and a hater of Goodreads, I love this spreadsheet. Everything is very clearly laid out. It is very aesthetically pleasing. It is also very helpful. It helps you track a number of different parameters of what you're reading, and plot them out later. I haven't actually used the spreadsheet yet. I'm planning to at some point input all of my reading into it, but it did actually inspire a lot of the things that I decided to include in my written trackers that I have in my journal, just because I liked a lot of the different things that she made sure to include. I think this video is such a good example of like the generosity and creativity of booktubers and coming up with resources for other booktubers to use, and yeah, then like sharing how to use them and just giving the file away. So thank you, Sophie, for making this, because again, spreadsheets are the best. So now for video number 8. This is Scribble Reads video, worst and most disappointing books of 2017. I was so excited to see Joss back on Booktube this past year. I know she's sort of on a break again, but I wanted to talk about this video anyway because I still love it and think about it. So like I've said a few times in this video, I love watching people talk about things that they love. Like, I really love watching people get excited, but let's be honest, it's also fun to watch people tear books apart. But what's especially fun about Joss and following her channel, and especially watching her rant about books, is that she reads so much and across so many genres that you get a pretty good mix of different ways a book can be bad. For example, I think YA is a pretty easy target for a lot of adult booktubers, but Joss is clearly pretty well read in the genre, so when she rants about a YA book in this video, it doesn't come off as mean. She actually has specific comments to make about why this book is bad. Her critiques are very specific, but she's also funny and entertaining, which just makes the whole video fun to watch overall. I will say that if you haven't watched that many of Joss's videos, I highly recommend, in addition to this video, her favorite books of 2017, because the countdown of books that she has on that list includes a lot of books that are not super commonly discussed. And again, I think that plays into how well read she is across so many genres, where she just has a lot of really interesting picks that you don't see all the time. And now for the last video, I'm going to be talking about Lena Wonders and her video Said I. I love Weena and I love her channel. I find her channel to be full of content that is different, but there's also a lot there that's familiar, and it's sort of all wrapped up in her very soothing presence, which just makes her whole channel feel like comfort. I was debating which of her videos to highlight here, but I knew I wanted to highlight something, and she has some really great discussions about Filipino literature and about poetry and fandom that are just really engaging and that I've learned a lot from. And she also does sort of like a lot of your standard booktube fare where she talks about books that she's read, so there's like a really good combination of things that are familiar and probably maybe less familiar. I decided to go with one of her spoken word poetry videos, which is called Said I. Again, I love booktube for the book discussions, but also for all the interesting directions people kind of take booktube in, and this is definitely, I think, a very unique direction. Said I is a poetry video. It's Weena's own poetry, and the poem itself has this sort of like angry and cathartic direction to it that's built on the words and the music and the imagery that Weena has all put together. It's just something that I haven't really seen that much of, and I think it's a real treat to kind of get to see someone put their creativity to use in a way that, yeah, that was new to me. So if you're someone who thinks of booktube as like, you know, being kind of full of all the same content, or if you're someone who thinks of booktube as being like full of, you know, Westerners doing the same kind of Western book things, I highly recommend going through Weena's channel to see sort of the breadth of what she's done on hers. So those are all the videos that I wanted to talk about for this year. I'm excited for another year of booktube and to have more videos to talk about next year. Again, you can check out all the links to the videos that I talked about down below. You can also watch my video from last year where I shouted out, where I talked about other booktube videos I love. So if you like this video and you want other recommendations, check out down below for that link. Thank you guys for all of your support over the past 2 years. This past year in particular, I've gotten, my channel has started growing a little bit more. I passed 1,000 subscribers, which is really exciting. So I'm excited to see what this next year will bring. I'm excited for things like BookNet Fest. I'm excited to have some time to work on some of my other ideas for this channel and to start to kind of explore them. I'm excited to get back to doing more book reviews and everything. So yeah, just a lot of excitement all around. So thank you guys for watching, and bye.